Good evening, everyone. My name is Varun Mathur, and I welcome you on behalf of NGSE to the second session of Redefining Leadership. We started this theme last month with Mr. Shantanu Shyam, the Chief Risk Officer of Angel Broking. And it is our honor today to welcome Mr. Eswaranatarajan from the Kotak General Insurance. He is the Senior Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer of Kotak General Insurance. Ishwar carries more than 25 years of well-rounded, diverse experience in the financial services sector. He has held several leadership positions across key functions and across sales, operations, and other leading functions of the company. As Mr. Natarajan says, managing people and leading people are completely different, right? So, and he has shown tremendous capability, and his experience has spoken well, how he has led people. His leadership style has demonstrated where Kotak General Insurance is now as of today. It's a great honor, sir, to have you here, and we look forward to lots of learnings from you through this session, building great leaders. Thank you.
Thank you. So, hi guys, my name is Ishwar. So, call me Ishwar if you want to ask me some questions. So, the format which I would like to have is I have got a lot of slides, and we will be discussing some leaders like Shackleton, Steve Jobs, and things like that. So, you ask me. Stop me, ask me questions whenever you can. Okay, so at the outset, I want to say that I am not an authority on this topic of leaders, but I have been a great student on this topic of leadership, because leaders make or break a country, leaders make or break an organization, leaders make or break homes. So the leadership is something which is extremely important. It's a very puzzling topic, because a lot of intelligent people fail in this topic. A lot of not so intelligent people who have got a lot of emotional quotient succeed in this. So it's a very enigmatic topic. Okay, so I've been a great student on this. So whatever I have learnt, I would want to share in this session. So that is the idea of this session. So so like I said, the basic rule is, please ask me questions during the course. And please stop me if you are not, in agreement with 100% of what we said. So let's have a very two-way session on this. Can we start? Okay. So the first question is, what is one thing that a leader, requires? Everybody wants to be a leader. But how many people are actually leaders? The only thing the leader needs is, he needs to have followers. But why would anybody follow somebody else? Okay, so that's a question which needs to be answered. Why would anybody follow somebody else? Okay, so if you are able to answer that question, then you would know what is required to be a leader. So there are situations where things are suboptimal, things are desperate, things are bad, and somebody wants to change. So, which means what? A lot of people are raising hands.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Just asked a question.
So we'll take question answers later on.
Okay. Okay. So, the situation is not so happy, not so environment is not so happy, not so prosperous. Somebody is unhappy with this, and the leader emerges out of the situation saying that I want to change the lives of these people through certain things. So leadership is not a position, it's not a designation which somebody gets. Somebody is compelled to change the environment for the prosperity or the well-being of people. Okay, so that's what a leader is. So when a leader actually takes a call to lead the whole gang of people or a set of population out of misery or to a next set of prosperity, then that's when the leader emerges. So, let's take the example of Steve Jobs. He understood the power of computers. He wanted the whole world to understand how the computer can change their lives. Okay, so he had huge ideas about the products in terms of computers. He wanted to simplify a lot of things, and he changed the world. So there's some of these leaders have this concept that yes, I can change the world. Okay, if you see the history of mankind, the world has changed, things have changed greatly because of very few people. Okay, for a great change to happen, it's not necessary that huge number of people need to be involved. Okay, let's take in aircraft as an aviation as an industry. Very, very few people have spent in excelling, that aviation industry into a different level. Today we are able to travel on a flight for 18 hours non-stop. Okay, a man can fly like a bird for 18 hours. A man is able to fly much better than a bird. Okay, this statement makes a huge change for the mankind. This has come out of very few people, and that's what a leader is all about. A leader wants to change the world, and he finds a way to change the world, and the followers emerge. Okay, so you take Gandhi as an example. So Britishers were occupying the country for years. Okay, and Britishers were looting the country for hundreds of years. And this guy wanted to, he came from South Africa, and he said, my people are living in poverty, and Britishers are in a prosperous situation, and I want to change. And he changed it. So wanting to change the world is one of the important criteria. When that happens, the followers come automatically. So the objective is not a selfish objective. If I want to make hundreds of billions of dollars, that's a selfish objective. You can't call that as a leadership. That's a business proposition. But somebody wanting to change the world is an important criteria for a leader. So then he gets followers automatically. If I want to become rich, if I want to become rich, then it has got nothing to do with others. It's only it's to do with my family members. But if I want to change the world, then the real leader emerges. So the follower is important, and you need to know why would you follow somebody else. I would follow somebody else if I think that he is going to add value to my life, he is going to make me prosperous, he is going to make me more happy. Only on these three conditions I would follow somebody else. Okay, that applies to everybody. So the opening thought is, leadership is not a rank, it's not a position. Leadership is a choice. Somebody says, yes, I want to change the world. I want to make these people prosperous by certain actions, certain decisions. And then everything else emerges automatically. So we will have a lot of examples in this. There is one example on Nelson Mandela. Black people were enslaved, were treated shabbily in South Africa for hundreds of years. Those years it was called Rhodesia. Nobody thought that you could oppose the British occupancy there. And this guy single-handedly thought, yes, I would change it. So it's a choice he took. When he took the choice, it was a difficult choice. People said it is impossible because for hundreds of years they have been enslaved. He took a choice, and he took a lot of decisions which led to a lot of misery for him and his family, but he stuck by it. And his noble cause was, I want to change, I want to improve the lives of my people. So leadership is fundamentally a choice, it's fundamentally a decision, and there are a lot of consequences because of these decisions. Some people succeed, some people don't succeed. Today we would be discussing a guy called Shackleton, which not many of you would have ever understood, would have never heard of. But I love that guy because he wanted to reach South Pole first. He did a lot of nice things, but he failed. Because he has failed today, he is not known. But if you read his story, if you see his YouTubes, your heart goes out for that guy. He did everything right, but he still failed. Okay? So what is important is, what somebody does is extremely important. So everybody wants to be a leader, okay? Because it's a glamorous, happy situation to be in. how do you become a leader? You need to take care of the people with you. If you decide to look after the person on the left of you, if you decide to look after the person on the right of you, you become a leader. This is what they call emotional quotient. So this term called emotional quotient has been heavily abused. So emotional quotient is, I in my life have seen some people who I would blindly follow, okay, because I trust that this guy won't do anything wrong to me. Okay, he is genuinely involved in the welfare of my well-being. Okay, that's what emotional quotient is. So when there's an emotional quotient with somebody, I'm willing to give my heart out. I'm willing to give my soul out. So when you give heart and soul, your performance levels goes up. So your productivity goes up. So a good leader is able to get the soul out of you because he is able to develop emotional quotient with you. Okay, so one of the fundamental thing is, the followers have to give their heart and soul to you. Why would I give my heart and soul to you? I would give my heart and soul to you only if I believe that you will take care of my well-being, and I, being in association with you, I go to a next level of happiness and next level of prosperity. So the important requirement is, you have to be taking care of people. Taking care. Care in capital letters. So your wish, your well-being comes last. The people who are with you have to be taken care of first. Am I going slow, fast? Okay. So what makes a leader? This is a very interesting topic. A lot of discussions have happened. Nobody still has got a clue about what is a perfect, mix. So I've got some views. So we are studying, 3 leaders in detail and 2 more small leaders, which you may not know. So Nelson Mandela, Steve Jobs and Shackleton we'll discuss in detail. Okay, so Nelson Mandela and Steve Jobs you would have heard of, and Shackleton you wouldn't have heard of. So I would spend a lot of time with Shackleton because I love Shackleton, because he did everything right and he failed and he is not known today. Okay, so my heart goes out for all these heroes who are not known because they failed in spite of the best efforts. So while what makes a leader? So I don't want to give any prescriptions while this slide is there. So when we discuss the 3-4 leaders in detail, this slide should be known to you automatically. So I don't want to prescribe. I want you to go through those 3-4 case studies, and then you come up with your own list of things which you feel is right. And the next question which are commonly asked is, are leaders born or made? So leaders are born in those kingdom days where my father is a king, then I also become a king. Of late, everybody has to earn their leadership. So the leaders are actually made. And while there's a view that gene, DNA plays a thing, but in my opinion, leaders are made through learning, through trial and error, through humility. If you ask me, among the all the things, the thing I love is the humility. Humility is an important criteria for leader, because when you are humble, you learn a lot. When you are humble, you learn to listen. When you are so arrogant, when you are full of yourself, you don't take feedback. So because you don't take feedback, you don't keep learning. When you don't learn, you make mistakes. So humility is an extremely important criteria for the leader. So my view is that leaders are largely made through learning, through trial and error, and being humble. So this is I would skip this slide. We'll come to the next one. So Nelson Mandela, there is a saying which I love most about him. It always seems impossible until it is done. Okay, and see the smile on his face. Beautiful smile. He is old. He doesn't look ugly. He is one of the most handsome faces I have ever seen. Largely because he is happy himself. Okay, so we'll get into details on this. So this guy opposed the policies of his white minority government. Okay, he led a non-violent action. They put him in prison for 27 years. rigorous solitary confinement. If you have traveled to South Africa, if you have seen those prisons, your heart breaks. Okay? But it didn't break him, because he believed that he is out to make something big for his people, and he held on to his life to see the success of that initiative. Okay? And if you are planning your holidays, I suggest you go to South Africa and see where all you have traveled, where all you have lived. Highly inspiring. A normal black guy, okay, had no great wealth, had no great education, okay, was absolutely unhappy with what was happening around him in terms of white dominating, white enslaving people. Refused to change refused to accept the norms and wanted to change the world. And he took his own course. And he paid a huge price. He lost his youth in jail, living alone, not talking to people for almost 10-11 years. So he was in solitary confinement for a very long period, where he was not even allowed to meet anybody, talk to anybody. So it's extremely difficult for somebody to maintain sanity if you have not had human interactions. Okay? So you read some of his books, your heart breaks, because he was struggling to maintain his sanity, only for the cause which he was fighting for. So finally, the happiest thing about the whole thing is he got his dues. He became the first black president, because people used to say that in South Africa you will never have a black president. He was awarded a Nobel Prize. So it's a happy ending, because he got finally his dues. When you read his books, there are a lot of leadership qualities he has got. One is extremely humble. So after he became president, he had never uttered a word of hate, never uttered a word of violence. Okay, I was in South Africa in one of those days. He was the president. The whole country was willing to erupt against white people. Okay, it was the second year of his presidency. They wanted to chase all the white out. People are getting violent. There are a lot of political support to throw white people out of the country. Okay, and this guy came for that meeting. Everybody was agitated. There are some, I saw the ground. It was about more than 1 lakh of black people in the ground, doing music and dancing and singing, singing in their own, songs. This guy came and said, I don't agree with this. I am not going to agree with your plan. He said, you have to live with whites, you have to be friends. He said, forgive all the things which had happened in the past and move on. So he was all talking about hope. He was all talking about how to move on in life. He had miserable life for 27 years, and the guy was able to forgive all that has happened to him. So he was full of hope. It's easy to hate somebody, but it's very, very difficult to love your enemy. And after all that nasty things they have done on him, he was willing to forgive, because that forgiving from his side was the starting point for less violence in South Africa. And that changed the country, that changed the black people, that changed a lot of things for them. So as a country they settled down into a non-violent attitude, which was beautiful. So it's extremely important to have patience, humility and forgiveness. So if you ask me, while there are great things, personally I like his attitude of full of hope, attitude of forgiveness. So let's come back to this question. If the question is, if anyone who is following the path, someone who had already gone through, makes easier to achieve or to even conquer more. So my view is, everybody has to chart his own way, because the path you travel may not be the same, the obstacles you face may not be the same. Okay, the context could be different. So it's important to learn from somebody's mistakes, it's important to learn from somebody's success, but your journey has to be your own journey. Okay. So can I move to the next one? So the qualities which he did not do. So in life it is, it's very important about what you do, and it's equally important about what you don't do. Okay, most of the people focus on what you have to do. In my opinion, half the trouble will be avoided if you focus on what you should not be doing. Okay, so he was very clear about what he does not want to do. He didn't go after revenge. He didn't go after self glory. All his meetings, he would allow everybody to speak, and he would get up to speak the last, and he would speak for 10 minutes. And his word was law. He was God, and God's word is gospel truth, and there is no other word beyond this. But he gave them a belief that he has listened to all of them, and then he did this. So he was also clear about, and always about, hope and doing good things. No bitterness, no hate. I sometimes wonder whether this guy is a human being, because how can anybody be like this? Because after what that country has gone through, what his people have gone through, what he has personally gone through, he could heal the nation only because he didn't have bitterness, he didn't have hate, he didn't have revenge seeking attitude. Okay, so he realized that for his people to go to the next level, healing is important. When somebody has gone through surgery or a painful past, it's important that they heal. But when you go after revenge seeking, that healing never happens. So he realized that that country has to have healing, and he did all this. So this is a beautiful thought. So the second quality which a leader should know is the intellectual capital. So he should know what he should be doing to reach the target. South Africa at that stage needed healing, and all his actions, all his talks, he ensured that the country healed. So the leader has to know, he should have an intellectual capital. Intellectual capital is a good topic, because being intelligent is different from intellectual capital. Intellectual capital is at this stage of where I stand, what I do, what are the next 3 things I have to do to improve. Okay, 99% of the people do not get it, because they don't think, because they don't listen. So it's extremely important in our personal life, in official life, in our corporate life, to have this quotient, to understand and listen, and to have this intellectual capital to move on. So the thing which I learned most out of Nelson Mandela is that. So he had that beautiful intellectual capital to decide what is good for the country. So next one is Steve Jobs. Most of you guys would have learned a lot of things, and I think I would be discussing some other things which some of you would have never heard of. I love Steve Jobs not for what he has done in the computer industry. Okay, what he has done to the movie industry, not many people know of. So he lost his job in Apple. Okay, so he went to Pixar. So he started Pixar. So the movie world is a very, very dicey world, because 90%, 99% of the movies failed. Okay, so he wanted to get science into movie making. Pixar took 14 movies. Out of those 14 movies, 13 movies got 10 times return. One movie got 8 times return. So he was so successful in movie making, which was considered highly risky, which was considered highly unreliable. So the brilliance of this man is in the movie making. So what he did was, so he got the 6 good script writers. He formed a committee and said, these are gatekeepers. Okay, so a guy who wants to produce a direct movie, he should make a movie for 10 minutes. Okay, and show it to these 6 people. So Pixar was willing to fund the movie for 10 minutes. Okay, and then if these 6 people clear the 10 minutes, they will get funding, otherwise they won't get funding. They had this concept of gatekeeper. So there are movies which got shot after the 4th round, which means after 44 times into 10, somebody has taken 40 minutes of movie, and then these 6 people have not cleared. So at every stage, so there is a set of minds which are looking at whether the screenplay is good, whether this is being done, whether this is being received well, blah 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 blah. Okay. So in all the English movies are generally for 110 minutes or 120 minutes, because they believe that human mind cannot absorb anything more than 120 minutes. So he had 12 stages in filmmaking. So if somebody does not go through these 12 stages, the movie doesn't come out. Okay? When the movie comes out, then it's a grand success. So he evolved a model, business model, where movies cannot fail. And he proved, 14 movies, 13 movies are super duper hits. Okay? So this is what brilliance is. Okay? So deciding what not to do is equally important. Okay? So he was not willing to get taken over by glamorous directors, glamorous heroes, glamorous heroines. He was clear that I won't do all this. Once you are clear about what you will not do, then life becomes a lot easier. Okay? So I love this guy because they kicked him out of his company, and then they called him back because the company was failing. So there's an important quality called resilience. So resilience in our life is important. Resilience is how many times you fall, how many times you get up. In life, there is no guarantee that you won't fail, because intelligent guys have failed, successful guys have failed, rich people have failed, lot of guys have failed. Okay? But are you able to get up is the most important thing. So companies who are resilient, individuals who are resilient, nations which are resilient will always do well. So they say Afghanistan was never conquered by anybody. They say Japan, always comes back. Okay? But the other way you see, there are a lot of countries which have failed completely. They are not able to bounce back. Centuries later, they are in the same situation. So the resilience is second most important thing, because you fail. Failure is part of everybody's life. Okay? But in failure, you get bogged down, then you will never come up. So you should have the mental strength to fight back and come up. So imagine this guy started this company, he was a co-founder in 1976. For almost 10 years he slogged the company to get it up. And then in board politics he got kicked out. He got really kicked out. And then, he didn't buckle, he didn't break. It would have shattered somebody's mind and, heart. He did something else. He did Pixar for some time, and then he got into computer for some time, and they called him back. So it is extremely important to bounce back. Your mind should be active, your heart should be strong enough to bounce back. So resilience is the second most important quality which a leader should have. Okay, so I like this poster because that's why I put it. If you want to make everyone happy, sell ice cream. Because when you are a leader, when you are onto a chartered path, which is for the common good, you have to take harsh calls. You have to do, unpleasant things. But that's part of your life. You are not here to be popular. You are here to be right. So if it is right, then you have to do it. So I like this, line. If you want to make everyone, happy, sell ice creams. So, this leadership qualities, the thing which I like about him is he was passionate. So, like I said, some of the leaders have come with this opinion that let me change the world kind of a thing. Okay. So that gives them this passion. Okay. It's not necessary that you have to change the world. If I'm working in a company, if I'm, living in along with my family, if I want to, change the, lives of my family members, then you have to be passionate. If I want to, take my, company to the top 3 in my industry, then you have to be passionate. The passion is always a byproduct. Okay, there's a noble cause, there's a bigger cause, and then being passionate is a byproduct of it. So these are the other leadership qualities. What he did not do, like he could have sulked, he could have blamed somebody, he could have lost hope. He didn't do anything about any of this. Okay, in his own way, he fought back. He kept on moving forward, and his time also came. So I love him, for the way in which he bounced back. The resilience he has had to come back to glory. So finally, cancer caught him. So my heart goes out for this guy and his wife, but that's fate. But I think he was very brilliant. So the next leader, which I'm sure most of you would not have even heard of, is Shackleton. He lived almost about 100 years back. A leader serves those under him. Okay. So in management, terms, now we have started using a term called servant leadership. Okay. So leaders are not supposed to be bossy. They are supposed to be servant to the organization, servant to the team members. So this guy talked about the servant leadership almost about 100 years back. So he wanted to reach South Pole first. So he started an expedition. He had a ship called Endurance. Okay, he started moving towards Antarctica. It got caught in the glaciers. And he had about 28 people with him. So these 28 people got stuck in a ship where food was not there, water was not there. And they couldn't go back because they are surrounded by snow, and there was heavy blizzard, and the worst of the winter was on. They were almost stranded on ice for 2 years. Okay, so there are a lot of YouTubes on this guy. I suggest you look at it, because if you go through the hassles he has had, okay, your heart goes out for this guy, and he did everything right. There are two people who revolted against his leadership and started walking towards a particular destination, and they got killed because he was right. He was saying don't leave the ship, because you get lost in the snow, then nobody can exactly that's what happened. So those two people died. Their body were found about 8 years later, because they were into the snow and the snow was preserving the body. So the challenges he faced was totally unplanned for. And he never thought he would get into. So in the meantime, what happened was somebody else reached South Pole first. So all that he did to reach South Pole first didn't materialize. Okay, so this is one of the pictures I have put there because to show you what he lived through. He had huge obstacles. He had a lot of fear. But he couldn't be open with his teammates about the fear. He kept all the fear to himself, and he never gave up. He felt responsible for all the 28 people who had come with him. His only primary objective was to get them back to their family. He could have he could have escaped, he could have gone and done something else. But he was very clear that he is responsible for all the people who had come with him, and he was extremely committed to getting them back to their homes in full shape. So he never gave up. So I suggest you look at his YouTube, and then there's a short movie also in YouTube on this guy. Beautiful leadership. So he did not abandon his crowd. Okay, he did not lose sight of his goal. His goal was simple, nothing else, that I want to get my team guys back. He changed the goal from reaching the South Pole first, but the goal became, I want to get my people safe back home. So this next guy is Charlie Kim, not well known. So in generally there's in the corporate world or in the commercial world, hiring and firing is a common thing. In capitalism, it is accepted normally, but people don't understand the turmoil the individual and the family goes through in terms of job loss. So he started this concept of lifetime employment. Once you come into our company, you can never be fired due to performance issues, because performance issue is your problem as well as the organization problem, and because of which we will help you reach your numbers. Okay, I like this. He compared leadership to parenting. So like in parenting, you don't find fault with your children even if they don't do well, because you take ownership. But when it comes to employees, you easily fire by not taking ownership. So this is a beautiful concept which he introduced, and that gave him back a lot of wealth, because employees were committed, they did excellent work, and a startup which was there in 1994 is a $2 billion company today. So it is that empathy with employees contributing to wealth creation. So this is a nice strategy, because you have your leader saying that you are going to be here for 25 years, then nobody would take a foolish decision, okay, which they would regret. Because if I know that I have to live through this decision and then answer to this question 5 years later, why would I do a wrong thing? But if you look at the other way, if somebody is going to be answerable every quarter and there is pressure on every quarter result and nothing beyond a quarterly result, short-term decisions can be taken, okay, which can be harmful to the company. But if you do a long-term focus on well-being of the company in the long term, then in the long run it pays. So it was a strategic call which he took, and it worked out well for him. Yeah. So he compares, what I liked most was he compared leadership to parenting. Because when it comes to parenting, we don't give up. We are always trying to defend, we are always trying to, support. So his word, if you have hard times in your family, would you ever consider laying off your children? The answer is no. So that empathy gives you that leadership trait. So next guy is this Bob Chapman, not very well known. So his board was pushing for the employee layoffs. In US it is like this: when the company is not doing well, next day you come up with a news item saying that 10% of the employees are laid off, the share price goes up, because the market reacts to correctness of decision making in reducing cost. He never wanted something like that. So he said leadership is a choice. And then his call was I don't want to lay off, which actually paid him back. So I like this word, heart counts. He said, I don't believe in head counts, but I believe in heart counts. If there are 100 people in my company and I have all the heart counting for me, then I'm in better position. So it is better that we all suffer together, rather than having one guy suffer everything. So he did a lot of short-term calls, but the morale of the employees went up, and they were able to trust completely. And in a economy like US, where hiring and firing is given, somebody taking a call like this gives you a lot of trust. Yeah. So let's come to some qualities. The leader has to take responsibility. He has got a noble intention, so he has to take responsibility and own it. So that's a beautiful. Shackleton took the responsibility for life of all the people. Steve Jobs said, I wanted to change the world in the way it uses the computing powers. So Nelson Mandela said, I want to improve the lives of, I want to unshackle the chains around my people's legs who are enslaved. and they were willing to take responsibility for everything. So apart from the larger noble intention, you have to take responsibility for the outcome also. And some of it comes largely from empathy. Okay, the empathy comes from the passion. I feel angry that the situation like this for the people I love, and I need to change it. I am willing to take responsibility for it. Okay, so the empathy, so the whole leadership starts with empathy, taking responsibility, willing to work hard, for the objective they have taken. So these are some of the qualities which I think is important. One is that intellectual capital which I talked about. What is necessary at this stage? How would I change course? Second thing is execution. Lot of people have intelligent ideas. What is important is execution. So you need not be a bull worker, but you need to be an intelligent worker. I keep saying this often in various forums. So there are two ways, there are two intelligent men during 1947. Gandhi was there. He did satyagraha, he did a lot of other things, but he became nation of India. But somebody else did a lot of smart work. Okay, Jinnah was always well dressed. He never sacrificed anything, but he also became father of Pakistan. So I'm saying in terms of execution, you need to see what is the effort and what is the outcome. You need to do a lot of smart, intelligent work rather than lot of hard work. So the way you execute depends on your intellectual capability also. And then for most important thing, sense of purpose. Sense of purpose comes from wanting to change the situation, wanting to change the world. The most important quality I would say is humility. Humility is being humble, which gives you the special power to listen, special power to see, special power to empathize. And most of the leaders become great because of this single quality of humbleness. Negative qualities, a lot of negative qualities. Arrogance is one, because when you become arrogant, you stop listening, you stop learning, you stop growing. So if you ask me of lot of good people fail because of arrogance. So a lot of other negative qualities, the context can be different. How to improve your leadership skills? Each of you have to take your own feedbacks from friends, parents, girlfriends, and relatives. There are at least 5 people in your life who would be able to give you hard feedback. You have to find who those 5 people are. Make them sit with you and listen to them. If you don't have 5 people who can give you feedback, then you have not done anything in your life. So I suggest you identify people who can give you feedback and take this feedback seriously. Yeah, so now we can go to questions. This one.
Let me help you with some questions. Okay. So we have a question from Jayanti Thakkar. Which is the one quality required for a leader in the corporate world?
Humility. Humility, because humility gives you, ability to listen, ability to learn, ability to think. Okay. So the corporate world is changing very fast today. Lot of balls are moving, lot of things are moving. So what may not really help, because what becomes obsolete very fast. So you have to learn and unlearn things. If you have humility then you will find ways to learn. Okay. So in my opinion, the one single most quality which people have to have is humility, because a lot of other things come with it. So when you are humble, being a big leader, people love you. Okay, then they become your follower. Okay, people expect a big leader to come in and talk big and being arrogant and being big and all that. But if you see somebody who is humble, you love him. Right. So I see a lot of people in the Ratan Tata is one. You see the way he is so humble. I'm saying for what he has achieved, what he has done, and the way he is amazing. So what is the second question?
Right.
What lead?
Next question with Vivek Maheshwari. Sir, what leadership quality would you suggest to young generation, as most of the organizations are in layoff mode in present, which might be due to technology upgradation and many more?
So world has become turbulent. Careers will become turbulent. That's a fact. Okay. Compared to our parents' life, our life has become more turbulent, and the youngsters' life will become very, very turbulent. Okay. In some of these countries, some of this part of the world, there is no loyalty both ways. Okay. The only thing, in my opinion, which can save you, which can help you, is your ability to learn and unlearn things. Okay. So you should be willing to learn and then unlearn. If you think you are an expert in this, and if that field becomes obsolete after some time, you should be humble enough to go back as a student to some other topic and learn that. Okay. So when I'll give you my example. I'm an English literature graduate. I did my ISAA, ISAA. Then I went to IIM Bangalore and did my engineering. Then I was in financial services. One fine morning, I got a job in insurance. None of it has got any correlation. None of it has got any straight line. But the only thing that saved me was I was able to learn and unlearn things. Okay, this is going to happen for all of you because technology is changing the world very fast. And technology is going to change. And there are people who are working very hard to change the world through technology. So which means, somebody told me after 10 years, the whole call centers, will become extinct. You may not need so many employees to do, call centers. Okay. And then somebody told me in 10 years later, there will be nothing called accounting, accounts department. Everything can be 100% automated. So technology is going to change the world because that's going to lead to a reduction in cost, because of which obsolescence will increase. So you need to have mind to learn and unlearn things. That's the only thing which will save us.
Moving on to the next question by Rohit Kumar. Is leadership quality inherently required in managers?
No, I don't know, so everybody is a leader in their own context. If I got two younger siblings, I'm a leader. Yeah. Okay, so leadership, these are jargons, managers and all that. So everybody is a leader in their own way, in their own spheres. Okay. As long as you are, good, you take care of people around you, people will come to you. Then you have a follower. Then you become a leader. So I think, everybody should develop this leadership quality, because you become responsible for some people and you enhance that happiness and prosperity because of you, which is nice. Right. So everybody should contribute, to people around them, which is the way you give back. Right. So the society becomes a better place to live, a happier place to live. Yeah, what is the next one?
With Anshuman, Anshuman has asked how you manage your mental risk and financial resources in this fast-growing money market, as I am into finance and I fear it with my investing leadership.
How you all manage?
How would you manage your mental risk and financial resources in this financial money market?
No, I am not an expert in this. Yeah, so I don't get the question in full. I think maybe this person can write to me, and then maybe I will respond to it.
Yep. Moving on to the next one from Arpit. What's your take on carrot and stick approach in leadership?
It can work in short term. Okay, it can be permanent. And there's one slide on manager and leader which I skipped. So manager will use a carrot and stick. Okay, a leader would buy into your soul. Okay, you want something for long term, you have to be a leader. You want something for short term, carrot stick works.
True.
So it's like this: either you have emotional quotient or you don't have an emotional quotient. When you don't have an emotional quotient, then carrot and stick is a better opportunity to get work out of people. But if you have emotional quotient, then you don't need carrot and stick.
True.
So I have worked in companies where they are not big paymasters, but I had built great teams. We had built large teams. So if you have emotional quotient, then you may not need carrot and stick. If you don't have, then use it.
Sure.
Carrot and stick also works.
Sure. Moving on to the next question from Chirag. Sir, doesn't being humble makes it hard to get things done? Like with lazy people.
Very good question. So you need to understand the difference between being. See, all of us are in commercial relationship. Everybody has to deliver. Okay. All of us have a value. All of us have a cost. If somebody doesn't understand that cost keeps going up and the value also has to go up, then at some time he becomes obsolete.
Right.
So you have to work with him to understand this equation. I've seen intelligent people not understanding the equation of value versus cost. So it's like this: if I'm in a job, okay, I'm getting say X amount of salary, every year I can't expect 20% jump.
Sure.
Because it's a drain on the company. Why would anybody pay 20% more if I'm not increasing my capacity to deliver 25% or 30%?
Right.
So I'm saying you have to have harsh, you don't have to have harsh calls, but you have to have very plain talks with people. You have to say that we are not running an ashram, we are not here for a social purpose. All of us have a value and a cost,
right,
and you have to deliver. In this commercial world, if you are not delivering to the customers, then the organization is gone. And
Absolutely.
you are not delivering to the company, then company is gone.
Absolutely.
So the customer is at the center. You have to deliver value to the customer. All of us have to chip in, and you are not chipping in, then there is no value you are adding. Why would anybody incur cost? Sure. So in our own personal life, if there's a driver who is driving you to office and coming back, and he asks 5,000 rupees increment every year, will you give? No. The car is same, the road is same, he is going in the same way, he is coming back in the same way, skill and time spent is same. Why would I keep giving more and more?
Sure.
So the same thing applies to us. When it comes to others, we look at value versus cost. But when it comes to our own career, we don't look at value versus cost. So that is the fundamental problem. So we have to look at value versus cost because we are in a commercial equation. And we have to understand, we have to do everything to up the value versus cost. And how will the value go up? Value will go up only because of skill and knowledge. I have to accumulate skill and knowledge which keeps increasing my value contribution. So that's how I go up in my life. So that's why I said about learning and unlearning and ability to pick up things.
Right.
So lack of arrogance, humbleness is not a weakness. Okay, in my opinion, humbleness is the biggest strength you can have because you need to make somebody sit who is not listening to you and look into his eyes and tell you you are not adding value for the cost you get.
Right.
And you have to talk sense to him. You don't have to raise your voice, you don't have to be rude, you don't have to be nasty. It takes a lot of effort. So in my opinion, humility is a big strength. And when somebody is so quiet and is able to explain this logically, the other guy who is noisy will naturally listen to you.
Right.
And if he is doing a mistake in his career, he will also correct. He will also become a better person, better professional. So in my opinion, humility is one of the biggest strength anybody can have. Because it gives you a lot of gratitude in your mind, which makes you think, which makes you learn. Whatever.
Okay, moving on to the next one. I think we have time enough to take just a couple of more questions. What is an effective leadership quality to deal with the team members who make the same mistakes?
So I say this, to all my, people. I work for my family. I work for my career. I work for the organization. Okay.
Yeah.
So there is a selfish interest in what I do, because if I work well in my career, I get well paid. So my family becomes prosperous. They become more stable. So there is a selfish interest in what. Why would I make mistakes? Why would I not want to do well? Okay, so you have to talk straight to these people. Don't do anything for me. Don't do anything for the organization. Don't do anything if you are doing anything for the boss, don't do it now. Do it for yourself. So I'm saying, if I'm able to add value to the company and grow up, and because of which my family becomes prosperous, because of which my children are able to go to better colleges, it's good for me.
Right.
So you have to get that personal thing in. You have to tell them that you do it for the family first. You do it for your career next. So what do I have to do for my career? All my batchmates in IIM, okay, I have done well. And if I don't do well, it's a shame on me. Na? Tomorrow I go to a get together, I cannot even speak to anybody.
True.
So I have to do it for the family first. Second, I have to do for my career. Third, you do it for the organization, because the organization pays you and it gives you opportunities.
Sure.
So doing the same mistake, which means your mind is not there, which means you are not committed to doing good work or excellent work in your job. So you have to. So what I've seen, we have built great teams, big teams. Once you make them sit and tell them quietly, most of them understand. Most of them change the level. Most of them, correct their mistakes. So if God has put you in a leadership position, you need to contribute to people's lives.
Right.
So these chats will contribute to their lives. Right. So if somebody comes to you, God has given you a role, and somebody comes to you, you are responsible for his life.
True.
As long as he is with you, you have to add value to his personal life and professional life. So I say this, and because of which you listen, you change, and because of which your family becomes prosperous. It's good for you now, yeah. It's good for your family. So in my opinion, that's how this has to be approached.
Sure. I'll take a last question.
Wait. So this question is, what must be the prayer
focus of a leader?
So prayer focus of a leader should be the prosperity of the business. Largely because if the organization is prosperous, all of us prosper. If there's a big cause which is noble and that is met, all of us benefit. So the prosperity, long-term prosperity of the organization is the most important focus for the leader. So the next question, how do
we can quickly take one more. How do we develop leadership qualities? Any ways or methods to suggest how to develop right from the childhood?
One is read a lot. Okay, YouTube, I'm a great fan of YouTube. Okay, and YouTube is doing a great service to the humankind by opening up minds of a lot of people. Okay, so there's a beautiful saying in Bible: "Thou shalt seek, thou shalt find." You have to seek. If you are not seeking, you are not going to get. You expect somebody to come and teach you, you will not get. Okay. In the earlier world, if you are living in a remote village, you will have problems in getting what you want. Now with all the digital world, you seek, you will get. So go back to the basic lessons in Bible which says that thou shalt seek, thou shalt find, you will get it. But I want to answer the last question. Should a leader be a micromanager? Okay. So people have different bandwidth. Okay, there are people who go into deep, there are people who go into width. Okay, it depends on capacity of people. I am not greatly intelligent, I am not greatly intellectual, so because of which I can't do 100 things. I will take only 3 things to do, and those 3 things I will do very well. Once I do those 3 things, then I will go to something else. But then I have seen people, talented people, who do 10 things very well. I am not like that. God has not made me like that. But I need to know everybody has got a weakness and strength. So you have to know what is your weakness, what is your strength, and then play the game accordingly. Okay, so don't follow a single rule. You have to evaluate yourself first and then think.
Nice. Don't follow a single rule. You have to evaluate first.
You have to make your own rules.
Yes. So with that, we'll take a stop at this session. Those who have questions, you can write to us, and we will share it with Mr. Eswaranatarajan and get his responses for you. So thanks a lot, guys. I hope it was an insightful session. We thank our expert, Mr. Eswaranatarajan from Kotak General Insurance. It's been really a pleasure to listen from you, sir, and lots of insights we got to take away today.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for the opportunity.